Welcome here to Abundance Coaching TV. My name is Scott Epp, and I am the host of Abundance Coaching TV. I'm always excited when you join us here with Abundance Coaching TV. And if you haven't been here already, welcome to our show. It's an exciting show, and really the purpose of Abundance Coaching TV is it's life coaching TV that makes a difference. So what we encourage our guests to do is to check out the different titles we have for our different episodes. And what you probably found is that this title intrigued you: Lessons from a Dad, How to Thrive as a Parent and Entrepreneur. So if this title intrigues you, then you're in for a treat. Now, check out some of the other titles that are out there. We talk about everything from resilience to living with passion, having abundance, and just really having a happy and prosperous life. So our absolute goal is that you are refreshed and empowered every time that you come to our show and you watch our show. In today's episode, I will be interviewing Jeremy Miller, and I'm especially excited about him being on our show. Well, for one major reason. Jeremy has been my life coach for about 3.5 years. Wow, hey. So at the beginning of my coach process, I was in something called the International Coach Academy, and while I was in the International Coach Academy, Jeremy was just concluding his coach training. And during that process, he had to find somebody to coach because they require for you to have X amount of hours that you're coaching somebody in the program. And then, of course, at the very end, I needed to do the same thing, and I needed to coach some people as well. So Jeremy found me, and I became his client. And it turned out that we had a great adventure. Like, we really are different in a lot of ways, but we click in a lot of ways too. And you'll see that. But one of the ways that we really click as well is that we're both young fathers. Not that we're really young ourselves, but we both have children that are very young. And boys, in fact. And we always had something to talk about. So the transition from being just a layperson working at a job or working at a career into full-time occupation as life coaches, it was a very interesting journey. And as you'll discover from some of our conversation, we're going to talk about how to thrive as a parent and an entrepreneur. So if this is you, fasten your seatbelts. This is going to be a great opportunity for you to really just partake in this conversation. So here, I've come up with a few different tips of my own that I think you could benefit from if you are an entrepreneur, or perhaps if you're even somebody who's working in a career, but you're a family person too. First of all, I want to tell you that my family is really, really important to me. I love my kids. They're so, I guess, ingrained in who I am. I think about them all the time, and I see their little eyes like I would see I guess myself when I was 3 years old or 2 years old. And I just love when I come home, just how they just like run up to you and just embrace you. It's like, daddy's home, hug daddy. And I also appreciate how they learn and what they do to just explore and to experience life and to have courage and just to do things. And one of the reasons why I became an entrepreneur was because I wanted to give my kids the freedom to be able to see their dad more, and to also give them the financial freedom to have more in their life so that we would be able to, as a family, share and embark in amazing different things. But that doesn't come with its own set of challenges. And what a lot of people find when they transition from career into entrepreneurial pathways, they find that these challenges really hold them up. And part of the challenge that they find is that they know behind the scenes that it's important for them to appreciate their children, and that they're one day going to grow up and they're one day going to move out of the house, get married, and start their own family. But that day is a long ways down the road. And if they're in business, yesterday was the first day for them to create their empire. And it's easy to get caught up in the, I need to build my business now, and to always do that. So here's a few strategies that I've come up with because I've also struggled with some of those things and have frustrations with some of those things. And the first strategy is create a division between work and home. Now, right now, I have my studio and my office space and a coaching studio where I coach one-on-one clients right outside the door here, where it's totally exclusive from our house. We have a blocked off area. In fact, we renovated our house in such a way to block off an area for me, and it's very separated and very secluded. Now, my boundary is that during my work day, this is my space, I'm doing my thing. I do come up at lunchtime if I don't have clients or if I'm not out and about, but separate your time. It's going to save you a huge amount of energy and space. In addition to that, what you can do is you can dress yourself as if you're going to work. Don't wear your slacks if you're working at home. Dress yourself like in your business suit even, and then go to work. Leave the house and then come back in through the business door as if you would be going to your office. Wake up before your children wake up. So that way you won't have the normal parenting thing that you'll have to do or you'll feel obliged to do. And then go to that. Turn your personal emails off. Only use your business emails. So that's my first key. Create a division between work and home. The second key is schedule family priorities first. Now, I have to admit, this is a real big area of struggle for me because I always am a go-getter. I look at things that I want to do and I want to go for. But scheduling your family priorities first allows you the flexibility to say, hey, listen, I'm going on a vacation that day, and then I look at my calendar and I just block it off. And my wife and I have talked about, okay, well, we're going away this weekend, we're going to a family thing this weekend, and we block it off. And then therefore, it's easy for my clients. In fact, when they come to me, they're like, oh, okay, well, you have time off, no big deal, I'll just meet you next week. So I encourage you to do that. Schedule your family priorities. And the last tip is enlist the help of others. So some of us have a hard time going out and soliciting help from others. This is a real big thing that you could do, is just go solicit, enlist the help of others. It can help you a fortune just by doing that in and of itself. So I'm excited about you being here, and we're going to hear firsthand from Jeremy about how he's a father and he has a thriving business and how he manages both, or how he's unbalanced or balanced with both. And you're going to be very enlightened, I know, because Jeremy is just somebody who's very inspirational. So before we bring him on, we're just going to play just a quick video here so you can learn more about abundance coaching. And if you haven't signed up for one of our newsletters yet, or for our newsletter for Abundance Coaching TV, all you have to do is put your name and email address in the form right beside this video here. You'll get updates on all of our guests, our updates on all of the expert guests, and the information that we also offer here on our show. So we'll be right back with Jeremy Miller. Enjoy this little video. When you were younger, you dreamed about your life. You believed that you would be able to achieve greatness and that you would become incredible. You were a winner, and you would defend your dream against any challenges. Somewhere, you may have lost some of that winning spirit, and the champion in you may have faded. Your life coach will help you become that champion again. You are not expected to battle through life alone. Making positive changes takes guidance and direction. Your coach will support you and pick you up when you get knocked down. Your coach will stand in your corner and back you when you feel weak. Your coach will inspire you when you need direction and provide you with wisdom that will put your goals back on track. Partner with a champion whose goal is to see you soar to the summit of your dreams. At Abundance Coaching, our goal is to take your grace and make it greatness. Hi, I'm Scott F., and I believe that each of us can live awesome lives that are filled with abundance. Abundance is believing that you are more than enough, you have more than enough, and that more than enough is coming to you in the future. Having abundance in life is about allowing yourself to find harmony in every area of your life. Abundance is not a destination. It is a mindset and an awesome way of life, and you can have it too. You will be empowered and encouraged by our life coaching approach. You will get clarity in what you really want out of life and get what you want faster. We believe that life coaching is about having intentional, purposeful, and powerful conversations that are focused on you moving forward. Together, we will push through the obstacles that block you from reaching your full potential. Do you want to realize an authentic, purposeful, and powerful way of living? Do you need a change? Do you want more abundance in life? Let's start the process that will take your great and make it greatness. All right, cool. Hey, welcome back, everyone. We're here with Jeremy Miller, my coach. Hey, man, how's it going?
I'm doing.
All right, cool. Very cool. Sweet. So, yeah, welcome to this episode. We're going to be talking about how you're a parent and how you're thriving as a parent and an entrepreneur at the same time. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to just having a little chat.
I'm too.
All right, cool, man. Hey, so let's. I told the audience a little backup about us, just about ICA and how we've been working together and things like that. But
Yep.
yeah, if I guess what's your take on your calling? Like, why did you get into coaching? Why did you even start coaching in the first place?
I don't think I got into coaching at the start because I thought it was a calling. I was a teacher, and my family had we moved to a brand new town, moved to our dream town, no jobs, nothing going on, had a baby, and I was teaching on call, and the teaching here is union-based, so it can take quite a while to get onto the full-time positions. And so I had a lot of time on my hands and was looking for other ways to supplement my income. And I had a little bit of background working on crisis and suicide prevention lines and counseling parolees, and the idea of coaching appealed to me. And so I decided to take my training and see where it led. So that's kind of how it started.
Awesome, man. Very cool. So at the very beginning, Jeremy, I remember almost just like I could almost read the email in my head, what you sent me. Because we were in the coaching program, and I just put an email out there, and it was like literally like that same day that you replied it back to me, and I just mentioned one line about how I was a new parent, and that must have really appealed to you right off the bat. It didn't appeal to you that I was a Toronto Maple Leaf fan, but that was okay. You forgave me.
As a Toronto Maple Leaf fan, you suffer enough. So.
Yeah, that is true. We may break the curse of the non-playoff drought.
Yeah. I mean, it hasn't actually turned out that way in my business a lot yet, but definitely back then and still right now, one of the things that definitely fits into an ideal client for me is, first of all, someone who's family-oriented, but more specifically if they're a dad. Just because that's such an important value to me, it's a lot easier for me to relate and work with somebody if it's also an important value to them. And not to say that I haven't worked with some single people with no kids who haven't been great clients, but there's also definitely been some people that I've worked with where we just didn't get each other. The email came in Friday night at 11 o'clock p.m. and I didn't respond until Monday at 9 a.m. and they're wondering where I am all weekend, and I don't work weekends. Sometimes if it's a big event for a client or something, I'll put in extra time, but in general, that's family time. And so, a lot of feeling out there with some clients, and some just that didn't work for them, and so we had to move our separate ways.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Well, man, I just have to say I really appreciate working with you. and also your family values have been infused in me, because I check myself in on the weekend thing for sure, and
Right.
I really appreciate just what family means to you. But here's the question, right? One of the things that I talked about in the intro was, if you're starting up as an entrepreneur, there's often a lot more work that needs to go into the first stage. You know, the whole fantasy of, okay, well, I'm going to have more time for my family. I'm going to have more time for myself. And that's why I'm going into business. But what people are finding is that, whoa, they're overwhelmed. They don't even know where to go. They're scattered, or else they're just investing a whole lot of time into their business.
Right.
So how do you balance it?
I think, if I look back to when I started my business and I was pulling a lot of those longer hours. If I think about, I mean, first of all, I was lucky at that point because Finn was 0 to 2, so there was lots of sleeping and not as much interaction as there is now that he's 5. And so I was lucky in that regard. But when I look at some of those days where I pulled, part of me thinks that that's a bit of a myth that needs debunking, because if I look at how many of those hours were productive versus how many of those hours were me tired surfing the net or rewriting something the 8th time because I was actually too tired to be writing it, I think I could have cut back on a lot of that time and been more efficient.
Yeah.
And not necessarily for any business. If you're starting off with employee and all sorts of stuff, can see how those hours can extend. I still think there might be a way to manage it. But I think for a business like I run, a home-based, one-person solopreneur type business, I definitely had to work extra hours when I started, but I think a lot of that time I probably could have got back.
Yeah, definitely. So that's something that you probably can take as an audience member if you're watching this and you are an entrepreneur. That's something that I think a lot of people out there have frustrations with, Jeremy, is just the amount of time that goes into the very first start. So here's one of the things that you know about me is core values are a big deal for me. And I know from just what you've said, they're a big deal for you too. But one of the things that people that I talk to is they always say that, well, family, well, yeah, that's a core value of mine. But one challenge that I bring up with them, and maybe you found this as well, is that it's always easy to say that family is a core value of yours, but when you look at the evidence and the actions that go with that, it actually shows you whether or not it is.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, that's why, and I know you do a lot of core value work, is they're not something that you do and then you file away in a folder as done. You need to be using those as a filter in your life to make sure that you're living up to your values. Otherwise, again, that can be something that leads to energy drain, working long hours. My core values from when I started working with you till now have always been family, adventure, and security. And so, if I'm not spending time with my family and my family's not having adventures, why am I working?
Yeah.
And the reason I don't full on go for the family and adventure is because my third one is security, which does mean that sometimes my business has to take priority. So when I say that family's most important, it doesn't mean that it always has to be the most important. There's times when it can shift, right? Those things are going to shift and move around. But for me, when I look at the overall result, is family number one.
Yeah. Nice. That's awesome. That's so cool.
Yeah.
And you've displayed it to me. Probably I know this more than anybody else because I have the privilege of having had worked with you since the beginning of your coaching. So I've seen this as an evidence and as a testimony. So the people that are watching from your audience that come here, I've seen this as evidence in your life all the way through. And even you're welcome. And even for myself, having a high value, because family is one of my core values, I've even thought, wow, to myself at how, I don't know any other word but extreme right now, but how extreme you actually are on that value and how you actually hold to it. But I admire that in you as well.
Yeah, and it's definitely had its challenges. I've lost clients because of that value. I've had some pretty big opportunities disappear because joint venture partners have kind of seen me as a dangerous prospect because I'm not going to pull the 12-hour day or jump on the phone as soon as they call. But what that's resulted is, in me working with the people that match that. And once I got rid of the ones that didn't get it, that's when I really started being more effective in my business, accomplishing more, and enjoying it more and being less stressed. So, it's definitely tough. I mean, I can think, if I think back just over a year ago, there was probably a 3-month span in my business where I made about $40,000. And during that span of making that money, I was traveling so much that I actually flew back from one job for my son's birthday, had his birthday because I wasn't going to miss it, flew out the next day for another job, and I was bringing in all this money, but it sucked.
Yeah.
And so, after that happened, there was a conscious decision that I sat down with my wife and we discussed it, and it's like, that money doesn't matter. We have to restructure the business so that it brings in money without that happening again. And it's a tough thing as an entrepreneur to be successful, make that kind of money, and then have to say, okay, next year there's going to be a 40K cut in my business because I'm not doing that again.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah, but it happened, and I think in general we're better for it. So.
Wow, there you go, man. That's awesome. Okay, so I've got a question for you. How do you juggle the demands of being a dad, husband, and entrepreneur? How do you do it? I'm sure that there's people out there that want to know this one.
Yeah, I think one caveat that I always like to give before I talk about this is I am in a really great situation where my wife works full-time as a teacher. And so we have an income coming in that isn't dependent on the business. And so every time I say, I think entrepreneurs may work too much, and what I'm about to talk about, I like people to know that I have that side of things, and so that's my experience. And that takes a lot of pressure off being an entrepreneur when you're not the only income source coming in. The way I juggle it basically is, and I use the term consciously unbalanced. I don't really believe that I'm ever going to live a balanced lifestyle, minute to minute, hour to hour. But I can be conscious about when I'm unbalanced. So if I know I have a 3-day live event that I'm going to coming up, and I have to travel 2 days, so I'm going to be gone 5 days, I'll work a lot less before that event comes up. So I'll build up family energy so that I can then focus on an increased unbalanced amount of work energy, and in my brain, that family energy I built up is going to last those extra days.
Yeah, for sure.
Until I get home. And so once I started making decisions like that, instead of trying to be balanced all the time, things went a lot smoother and they were easier to juggle. The husband part is definitely the toughest. You have kids, even if I didn't have a business, once you have kids, it can be really tough to maintain the husband-wife part of a relationship as opposed to just the family part of the relationship.
Yeah.
And so if we're talking about juggling, that ball probably drops the most.
Yeah.
Because I work from home, and Finn's in kindergarten this year, we made a decision that I would cut back on my clients so that I can take him to school and pick him up from school.
Yeah.
And so, I drop him off at 9 a.m., I pick him up at 2:40. So spending time with him, is a lot easier on the weekends, spending time with my wife and him because she doesn't see him as much during the week, so she wants to spend more time with him in the week. That's easier to do. But then finding that time for the two of us to have together is definitely, I would say that's the toughest part for me to juggle.
Okay. Yeah, for
And
sure.
we're working on it.
Yeah, definitely. So, Jeremy, I know that there was a point where you were doing both. And you were working as a teacher and you were also coaching and doing your thing there. And for those people in the audience right now where you're doing two things, that's great. That was a great place to be. That was where I was as well. But I know your story, so I'd love to hear when you articulate your story, where you were when you were doing the school thing, but then also your why as to, you know, why you switched and why you transitioned, and why you also knew that it was the right time.
Sure. I don't think I knew it was the right time. You know, it's always kind of a leap when you
Come
say
on, buddy.
goodbye to the one thing and move into the other. But one of the reasons that I moved out of teaching is when I started my teaching career, I was a junior high teacher, science and math. I became more of a high school teacher. And the way that the system worked, things in high school, I didn't really agree with the system anymore. I want to become a training teacher typed on TV and you know, kids having their classes. I didn't want that to happen to me. And so, and as well, you know, knowing that I wanted to spend time with my family, teaching high school math takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
And not time that you're paid for. And so I knew that I needed to, you know, I really wanted to switch into something different. And the reason that it kind of became the right time is in Canada we have this program that if you get laid off from a job, for government money to help you start a business. And because I was on a temporary contract, the way it worked, I was getting laid off. So I was like, well, if there's a time to, you know, why not do it and have some support along the way for the first year of starting the business? So that was one piece. The other piece was I was doing work part-time, and I was getting some bigger clients, and some of those clients were basically telling me that if I was going to do the teacher thing and the coaching thing, that they couldn't really continue working with me because they needed to know that I was 100 and could devote myself 100% to working with them.
Yeah.
And so those two pieces, plus this desire to not become a grumpy teacher and a desire to figure out a way to spend more time with my family, all kind of just, you know, culminated on June 30th of that year. And I took a 1-year leave of absence from the school board, which is now gone, and I'm no longer part of the school board, and started my business. And, you know, working with you in a similar situation when you were working, part isn't necessarily that you're not taking that leap, but it's just to remember to ask yourself that question: am I going to do this full time?
Yeah.
When am I going to take the risk? And it may not be time, but eventually it will. And so you just need to keep on asking yourself that question every now and again, and then eventually the answer, I think, will be yes. Or it may be no, and you go full time back into whatever you're doing. I think both are, you know, entrepreneurship and doing what we do is not for everyone. And you know, it's our world likes to make jobs sound really bad.
Yeah.
And I don't think they are. You know, for some people, that's going to be the best solution. You know, being an entrepreneur can be stressful.
Yeah, sure, definitely, man. Yeah, and I remember when it was time for me to actually quit my job, there was definitely some tension around that whole time. But I had known, actually, for me, I knew that it was time back. Actually, probably about a month or two. I just knew to my gut it was time to actually release it.
Yeah.
But just knowing it and doing it are two different things, because it comes with that security of, hey, you know, I at least know that there's this income coming in, and once I do this, that's not going to be available anymore. And I did know for myself that it was time. It just took a certain breaking point at my job where it was just like, okay, that was my moment. It was one of those things that happened to me there. So, yeah, man, that's a great story.
And that really stuck out that you said there is we want to stay with the security of the job. In the last month, I know 4 people who have been laid off from their jobs. You know, and they have nothing now. They're looking for another job. So one benefit, if some of the people watching are balancing a business and a job, a great frame for me is, lose the job, I have the business to work on.
And we'll just be a second here, folks, as Jeremy's internet connection and ours is just recalibrating. We're just going to figure this out and just get back online here. So what I really like about what Jeremy is saying so far is just the aspect of like when he needed to quit, it was definitely that the security was still there. And that what he recommended that you do is just keep on asking yourself that question. Keep on asking yourself, you know, is it time yet? Is it time yet? Is it time yet? And yeah, just as he just shared as well, sometimes we think about the idea or the knowledge of the fact that, hey, listen, you know, jobs are the secure place to be, and sometimes they aren't the secure place to be. But obviously, everybody's got a different path to follow. So if your path that you want to follow or that you're following right now is to be an entrepreneur, then I also encourage you to step in. Because until you actually step in, you say, okay, well, listen, on a scale of 1 to 10, how committed are you? I'm a 10 out of 10. I'm ready to go. I'm committed. I'm just full steam. I'm in it. Then potentially there's something that you might have to look at for yourself. And if you're only a 4 out of 10 in your business, then you might have something to worry about. And you might want to actually take another look at what it is that you are doing as far as your career is concerned, or your business, I mean, is concerned. And potentially you need to either say, hey, listen, I'm going to step in 100%, I am all in, or I'm not. And, you know, maybe this is something that I just need to go back to get that job. But hey, listen, you know, there's so much benefit in being an entrepreneur, and there's certainly so much benefit as well to being an entrepreneur and a parent. So I hope that you're taking a lot out of our conversation, and you're ready to go again for the next part of our conversation with Jeremy. All right, Jeremy.
Hey.
There we are. Perfect. Cool, man. Yeah, our internet's not as fast as it is sometimes, but no worries. It's all good. We're back. We're back and at it. Hey, man, so we were just talking about just the idea of when we're in the middle of like that choice, how to know if it's the right choice to actually say, okay, well, I'm leaving the part-time thing and I'm going into something full-time. Can you tell us now, like, what the benefits that you've experienced of being a dad and being an entrepreneur are?
Yeah, that's easy. One of the easiest ones is, so I started my business, I incorporated, and for my first ever annual general meeting, I flew my wife and son down to Disneyland.
Woohoo!
I was down there on a job, so a client had paid for me to, and we had to have our general meeting within a certain time period, and so you know, I didn't go all up. Corporation paid for their flights down, and then we covered most of the rest as family. But you know, if I hadn't have been down there for that event, it probably never would have even crossed our minds. It was his 3rd birthday, so he got his 3rd birthday at Disney. Pretty awesome. Other benefits, like I said, I take him to school, I pick him up from school, so I get to be involved in and you know, hang out with him in the mornings and in the afternoons before he goes to bed. So that's been a fabulous experience. Mm-hmm. Because what I do is mostly mobile. You know, this summer I'm attempting to basically shut my business down for the 2 months of summer vacation. My wife's a teacher, my son goes to school, and just do current client fulfillment during that time. And so because I run my business, it can come with me, and we can have 5 days together, and then one day I might have to stay in the hotel room with the Wi-Fi and deal with client calls. But then the next day we're back on the road. I think the longer term benefit that I hope is there is that he's going to get to watch his mom have a career job and his dad get to be an entrepreneur, and that's going to give him more of an ability to experience both of those and maybe have a different outlook on life as he grows up.
That's very cool.
And not just think that he has to go to university and get a degree and start working. So I think that's another benefit of it. Energy-wise, for my family, I do a lot of the housework, a lot of the cleaning up. I do some of the cooking. If we were both working full-time as teachers with the marking and the lesson planning and the actual time teaching, a lot of that would be a lot more stressful. So because I've basically managed to work my workday into 9 to 2:30, I can help with a lot of those other parts of our lifestyle. I've gotten to meet lots of amazing people. I get to be around amazing people. I get to work with amazing people. And all of that is going to brush off on him, and he gets to meet some of those people, and
Yeah.
It's been a good experience as far as that goes.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Hey, I'm proud of you for what you're doing and the stand that you're making. So I don't know if you've heard this quote before, but and he's unfortunately passed away, Zig Ziglar.
Yep.
He said that if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything.
Right. So
you're making a stand for family today, and you're making a stand also for your business, because I know that it's thriving. I know that you have some cool things in the pipeline. We'll talk about them in just a second as well. But you're making a stand for business and a stand for family, and working it together. So, hey, man, I'm proud of you for that.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
And, I don't want to give some crazy image. I mean, there's times where, like most entrepreneurs, I'm throwing things across the room and banging my head and panicking and, crazy stuff is happening, and, it's not all, a bed of roses. But by knowing what's important to me, it helps me navigate through those times and know that, if I'm in hour 3 of trying to solve a tech issue and my son's upstairs and my wife's upstairs, you know what? The tech issue's going to be there when I get back, and I can go and take a break. And in the long run, that's made me healthier, I think.
Yeah, for sure, man. So that's a great point. So what are some of the biggest pits? What are some of the biggest frustrations that you've had with family and business and mixing them or working it out?
I think definitely the irregular income that comes with being an entrepreneur, especially a service-based entrepreneur. That's definitely one of the things that I struggled with for a long time, especially when you're starting out, because we talked about starting out right at the beginning. When you finally leave that job and you start your business full-time, there's a big discrepancy there and regular. So that's definitely been a challenge. It's thinking that to be successful in business requires time instead of realizing that it requires energy. And what I mean by that is, if I work 12 hours a day, my business will be successful. And that's a trap. And it's one that a lot of people fall into, and, maybe 4 or 5 of those hours are staring at a computer screen or surfing Facebook or waiting for an email to come in, or not productive. Being successful in business requires energy.
Yeah.
And if you can put energy in and then make sure you recover that energy so that you can put that energy in again, that's where the success comes in, as opposed to clocking hours. I don't know how many times I've talked to people, and it's like, I went into business so I could live the life I want to live,
Yeah.
And I didn't get up until 10 o'clock this morning, and I feel so guilty because I should have started at 8. And I'm like, who says now that you're in business for yourself, you have to start at 8? When you had a job, you had to start at 8. But if you want to work 10 till 6 instead of 8 till 4, or you want to work 10 till 2, you know, these are the things that you get to decide now without feeling guilty about it. And if you can compress high energy into that smaller time frame and get what you need done, then you've accomplished just as much as somebody who works 8 hours a day.
Right on.
And I know a lot of people, and even I, for a long time, I had guilt around that. You know, it's like I worked 5 hours today, and I'm done what I needed to do. And then it's like, well, I should probably find something else to do so that I work another 3 hours. And I think that that's a trap.
Yeah. Very wise. Hey, that's a great point. I want to bring up that brings up an interesting segue. There are 2 books that you and I have talked about quite a bit during our coaching together. The first one is The 4-Hour Workweek, and the second one is How to Get Things Done. Getting Things Done with David Allen. So, first book, 4-Hour Workweek. What's your impression of it? Is it possible? And you just talked about energy and using energy. So, and for the audience, if you haven't read that book, phenomenal book, go for it. What do you think?
I mean, I think it comes down to whatever you need to do to could I do my business in 4 hours a week? No. I'm for the most part. Time. The book is written, you know, Tim Ferriss is running, I think, what is he running, a vitamin supplement company during his 4-hour work week. So, you know, it's definitely possible. Definitely difficult, I think. Streams where I just said I don't think you need 12 hours a day. I can't imagine fitting my business into 4 hours a week. But, you know, you went into business to create what you wanted to create.
Yeah.
And if that can be done in 4 hours, that's great. If it can be done in 6 hours a day, which is roughly what I put in, great. If you're trying to build an empire and employ a bunch of people, and that means that for you it takes 18 hours a day, I mean, we go into business to create what we want to create and not have, you know, the boss there. And so I would say don't, you know, if your life is going the way, you know, like I often say, if I had to become an entrepreneur in my 20s, then I may have done the 12 to 14. I didn't have a son. I didn't have a wife. You know, my priorities were different.
Sure.
And now that I do, and I did start a business when I was in that situation, I just have different things that I need to do and different priorities. And so what I've said makes it sound like those longer days aren't great, but if that's what works for you and that's the life you want to live, then that's perfect. If you can do it in 4 hours. So, yeah, that's kind of how. Also, kind of, you know, part of you has to remember that books. Is Tim Ferriss really running everything count? His speaking engagements and other stuff he does? Yeah, it's probably a little bit longer than 4 hours.
There you go. Awesome. Very cool. So tell me the second one, Getting Things Done. So you're talking about like a shorter work week. What's a synopsis on that?
Getting Things Done is a book that I spent a lot of time trying to use, and over time realized that I was spending more time trying to implement it than I was doing the stuff that I was trying to get done. I've taken a lot of principles from it and I use them in my business, but overall for me, it's management of the system for me to successfully use Getting Things Done. But as a part of where I am today, it was a very important book for me to read because I didn't really have any understanding of organization on a business scale when I read it. So I read it for a while, and then as my business went on, I realized that it wasn't an exact fit for me. And so, you know, again, talk is you need to do what's working for you, right? And, you know, do I try and deal with, you know, things in my email that take under 3 minutes? So, you know, I took me and kind of have my own, but a great book, you know, I'd suggest, because it'll at least change the way your brain looks at organization.
Yeah.
And allow you out there, and that there's pieces that might work for you.
Sure. Yeah, definitely. So I'm using that as a segue because you have some great strategies, and you're actually developing a board game right now, Jeremy.
Yeah.
And it's, and it's definitely about organizing and getting things done in a creative way. So tell us about it.
Yeah, so the board game, the genesis of that is actually, I find when I'm working in my business, if I'm not also being creative at the same time, I get stuck. I'll do in my business currently isn't necessarily super creative. I'm kind of in that maintenance mode, working with clients, and there's not a lot of actual creativity happening at that point. I need to something else to keep me going. So, for example, 1 year while running my business challenge and wrote a 50,000 word novel. Right now, one thing that I'm bringing into my business more and more is gaming. My background is in a lot of ways hobby. And so I just started looking at, you know, getting things done. Some of those traditional systems aren't working for me. Having a calendared schedule doesn't work for me. Blocks of time hasn't worked for me. What can I do that's going to help me manage and organize my day? And coaching is, I really switched to looking kind of everything as energy in and energy out. And so every week I allot myself a certain amount of energy, and over the every morning my son Finn, you did sneak up on me. Scott saw you before I did.
That's right, and this is a perfect segue, because here's the dad working outside of his normal day hours with me here, and here he is. So that's great. That's awesome, man.
Yeah. So okay, Daddy's talking. You can say something. Say something nice though.
There you go, buddy.
What chicken? All right. Thanks, buddy.
He's awesome, man.
Have 5-year-olds. The concern with him speaking into the mic is that it's going to be something about poo or his butt.
Yeah.
Pretty common topics at this age. So getting back to my train of thought. So basically what's been working for me is I give myself a certain amount of energy to last the whole week. And when I do things in my business, I spend different amounts of energy. And if I run out of that energy, I'm not allowed to work anymore. And so what I need to do during the week is I also need to do activities that give me that energy back. And so basically, it's in my homemade prototype stage now, so I use poker chips to represent energy. And then I have different playing cards on them, and they just have different amounts of energy. So, for example, I'm doing marketing, social media marketing. For me, that takes 2 energy because I hate it. I'm not a big fan of social media marketing, so that takes more energy. If I'm writing a newsletter, that takes creative energy and administration energy. So I have it, there's a game board that you won't be able to see. Basically, as I use it, it goes used energy, and then I can do things during my week to get that energy back. And so I can play a video game, I can sleep, I can eat, I can spend time with, it just sits on the table by my I just move it around so that I know when I'm depleting my energy, when I have a lot in the stores, when I need to do something to recover energy, and I'm a really visual, spatial person. So it just gives me the ability to actually manipulate my day, manipulate what I'm doing, and make sure that I'm not tiring myself out.
Right on.
So, yeah, that's kind of just getting ready, testing of it, and so the next stage is we're turning it into a PDF document, and it's my closer colleagues to take a look at, and then eventually we'll see where it goes from there. But there's no real direct money-making business goal with it. It's just me being creative, me being being able to experiment, have some fun, make something, kind of get that maker mindset going, and yeah, it's just fun.
That's awesome, man. And doesn't that sound like a great idea? I'm sure that you're interested in just checking that out, because I know for myself, and I'm sure as an audience member, you know for yourself, when energy's being depleted, and during different tasks, you hit it on the head for me. I get just drained when I start doing any kind of like administration stuff, and I get edgy, and I'm an optimistic person, but you get me writing a speech that I know that I'm going to be able to influence people. I love it, and it brings me energy to be able to do that. So I could definitely see how a visual, but adding chips to different things could really help.
Yeah, and it's just something to try even at home as a business person. If you're feeling drained, the mindset that we have from work and a job is, well, it's only 1 o'clock. I already had lunch. My break isn't till 2:30. My work day isn't over till 4, so I have to keep working. You're in business for yourself. If you want to flick on a video game or read for half an hour, I suggest taking that break in the middle of your workday, doing that activity, and then checking out your energy after you do that.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest ones for me is because I gave the ability to gain back energy via eating. I'm eating a lot healthier during my workday now, whereas before I would skip meals and stuff. If I know what I need to do, I know I can go up and and on the game board, that gets me energy back so that I can do the next thing without having to stop.
Right on. That's awesome, Jeremy. That's really cool. Hey, so we have to wrap up right away, but as a whole, I'm sure that the audience has really taken a lot away from this conversation so far. And I want to ask you a question that I've been surveying the guests that are on our show, this single question. And
sure.
It has to do with everything, okay? You ready for it? Jeremy,
I'm ready.
What are you looking for in life?
What am I looking for in life? The first thing that pops into my mind, Dan, says I'm looking to have fun. And, I think that's where I come from with, when I talk about family and adventure. But I'm also practical enough to know that I can't live without money in this world. And so business gives me an opportunity to have fun with my family. I'm getting closer and closer to more and more things in my business being fun. Business that I don't enjoy. But the more I get who I want to work with and what I'm trying to do, those tasks become more fun. And so for me, really, I think I made a decision a long time ago that growing up kind of sucked. And if I can live my life as play and having fun, then I'm kind of achieving what I set out to do. And if I can change some lives and help some people while playing and while having fun, that's great too. But I don't think I'm the kind of person, reflecting upon myself, sacrifice the play and the fun to change the world.
Yeah.
And there's people out there that do this, and they're different and doing amazing. I don't think I could do that.
I hear you, man. That's great. That's great. So I'm looking for 100 people to survey that question, and I'm going to compile a video when I'm done. And the answers are actually really interesting. They're actually across a broad spectrum so far. And there are definitely some similarities, but it'll be interesting to get an actual, at the end of the day, what people are really looking for and just compile the survey and really just release the stats on that one. Jeremy, it's been awesome having you on the show here. How can people connect with you? How can we take our next steps? People are really interested in finding out more about you. What do you do, and how can we connect with you?
Sure. Mostly what I do right now in my business is I help them do broadcasting. I also help people with video, and a new part of my business, helping them add concepts from gaming into their educational courses, business courses, overall business. I also do with you a lot general business coaching. This is online. This way to find me is at my website, withoutborders.com, youreventwithoutborders.com. And easiest way to directly contact me is at my email, which is Jeremy, Jeremie, at youreventwithoutborders.com.
That's youreventwithoutborders.com. Awesome. And I vouch for Jeremy as a coach because he's helped me achieve a lot of the things that I've achieved. And I mentioned a couple weeks ago here on one of the episodes what he's done for me. But in a snapshot, Jeremy, you've helped me reframe things a lot. And that's one of the best things that you've helped me do, because at different times I've been ahead of myself, and at other times I've actually been behind my potential. And you've helped me see when I need to actually lift myself up and say, Scott, you can do this. And just like even the video stuff where you're just like, yeah, Scott, just go for it. Just go for it. You have the tools, you have the technology, you have the ways, and just like go for it. And then let's talk about it as we go. And then there are different times where I was way ahead of myself. And not that you said, hey, don't do it, but you actually helped me see things from the third-party viewpoint that I really needed at that time, Jeremy. And if I wouldn't have had you in that season, I could have probably just like gone off and just like, sure, I might have been the bull, but I'd have crashed a whole bunch of China in the process, and I wouldn't have done what I really need to do. And I think also what's really beneficial with that as a coach, and you having that as such a strong quality, is that people often get really hurt when they charge off and they go off and do something and then it fails or it falls to pieces.
Right.
And then they just like forget it. Just like, I'm not ever trying anything like that again. And it might be years until later on they just regret never trying or picking themselves up again. And to get that coach to help you by walking alongside of you and then saying, okay, well, what about if we try this? And, you know, let's push forward, but let's go together and let's do this. That's really helped me.
Yeah, and I mean, I super appreciate you. You're my longest term client, and you know, you really, working with you has helped me coach with exactly what you said there, because when I started coaching, a lot of the times I had in the back of my head a little bit of guilt because I'm not the go crazy dreamer coach, and my coaching has a certain sprinkle of reality in it, and let's be down to earth and let's look at the effect. And working with you, eventually, you know, I'm comfortable with that and realize, you know, I can remember we had a session once where you're like, you know, I need to dream this session. And I said to you, okay, probably be quiet for a while, because you know that's not my strong point. And working with you has helped me realize that, and realize that it's a strength because, you know, the dream. And I just realized that my place and working with you has been a big part. I appreciate you hugely for development of my business and all the work we've done together.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, it's been an awesome journey, and I look forward to just it continuing. And both of us achieving our goals of having fun and having that lifestyle friendly entrepreneurial business, which is something. Lifestyle is what helps the family part work, and having that lifestyle also requires for that financial aspect. And I'm sure for the audience, you'll take a lot out of this. The replays are always live at Abundance Coaching TV. You can always, or I shouldn't say live, they're always available on Abundance Coaching TV. You can watch this episode at a Jeremy, we do this live somehow just over and over again.
That'd be a good trick.
Yeah, we're always live here. It's reality TV with Abundance Coaching TV here. So watch any of our episodes. And Jeremy, it's been a privilege having you here on our show. And thanks for being with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's good stuff.
Awesome, man. Cool. And to you, thank you for joining us today. Abundance Coaching TV is live every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Central Time, 5 o'clock Pacific, and 8 o'clock Eastern Time. And until we chat again, live with passion and have abundance in life.